I am doing all right. It's like getting close to the end of the semester, like winter break. I'm definitely looking forward to it.
Definitely. And then I guess we can just jump into it. And so I guess to talk about how COVID has changed the holidays, we have to talk about what our holidays were like before COVID. And I know for me, that was just spending a lot of time with my family and extended family, going to see things like the Christmas tree lighting in San Francisco and Christmas in the Park in San Jose, and just being around lots of people, feeling like that spirit around everybody, whether that was even in school before things ended, you get to see everything get winter themed, all those types of things. Yeah, for me, the holidays I think was just
Totally.
always about gathering with people and like having a good time together, which is crazy because that's like the number one thing you can't do this year.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, all about like I feel like at least for me, the holidays were all about family or like you said, like on campus. Like at my school we have like a tree lighting ceremony. So all on like College Walk, everyone goes out. There's like music groups that sing like Christmas carols or whatever, and like the trees get lit up and it's like a whole big thing and you're like packed together. And now I like can't even imagine being that close to that many people. Like I don't even know.
Yeah,
Um,
it sounds like terrifying.
yeah, it's really crazy. And all about seeing like extended family, like maybe that's like it's like one of the few times in a year that I'll see that side of my family or whatever. And it's like coming from people like will be flying in. There's like I don't know. It's a time where normally you are seeing people from like even different states or whatever that now we're all so much more aware of it and like what their lifestyle is like or what flying does. And it's definitely a big change. Um,
I think
yeah,
like
just
uh, an interesting thing to me is I think like for a lot of people, the holidays are like that time where grandparents see their grandkids and you see like those older relatives that you might not like catch up with all year, or
mm-hmm.
just you see people that you would not see otherwise. And especially when it comes to like seeing our grandparents and things, that's definitely something that is like very risky this year and that you really can't do. And so it is interesting not even to just see how the holidays change, but just how this time of year in general has really been altered. Especially like yeah, like Christmas time. This is like the biggest travel time of the year, and I think we are still seeing, of course, spikes in travel, but it's definitely not like seeing the airports packed for weeks before Christmas like we
Yeah,
used to.
yeah, I remember like because I go to school in New York, and so I remember one year I like waited too long to buy my flight home for Thanksgiving, and it was just like impossible to get a flight home because every seat was booked, and they would like
Mhm.
anything available was like first class was so much money. And now I'm sure if I wanted to catch a plane to New York, I could. But yeah, I guess how was your Thanksgiving? What happened with what did you feel like changed with COVID or what did you do?
Usually my family and I, we would all go up to my aunt's house and we would have our whole extended family do Thanksgiving together.
Mm,
But this year, because it is COVID, we had to have like a very small dinner. I had to drive up from San Jose to my parents' house, and it was just all of us together, which was nice. And it is nice to still get to see people and spend time with them. But it is very different from, again, like those big gatherings, those huge get to see people that you haven't seen in years. Like I've seen everyone I went to Thanksgiving dinner with multiple
yeah,
times over this year.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it was definitely different, but I think that there are still like parts of the holiday experience or that you get to preserve and that don't necessarily fizzle away. Like I still got to see parts of my family. I still got to have a great meal and I still got to share like all the parts of the holiday that are really important, like giving thanks and just reaching out to people, whether that's virtually or in person. So I think that there are parts of it that stayed the same or didn't necessarily vanish away, but there are definitely parts of it that feel like they just went away and that I didn't experience that part of the holiday,
yeah,
which is
same.
weird.
I was just home. Like I'm taking classes at home, and so we normally go up and see like my grandma and my aunt and uncle and whatever. But we were just like too worried. I don't know. It's like my grandma. It's my grandma, and
Hmm.
it's like not necessarily worth it, I guess, to like have a meal together versus like putting her life in danger or
Yeah.
feeling like we were putting her life in danger. That's just like a lot of stress to put on, even if maybe we didn't necessarily give her COVID. Like sitting at dinner being so worried about that would kind of like,
Yeah.
me, that
Dampen
would
the
be a
night.
really stressful time and not necessarily like the kind of Thanksgiving dinner I want to have. But like I think some fun parts of like, yeah, we cooked all the same stuff. Like, yeah, we'll talk about for a little bit maybe holidays as a whole, or like what we feel like is going on like in the US as a country with COVID. Because I think that at least for like when my family was like making the decision to not necessarily go to a different person's house to have Thanksgiving. But I also have like acquaintances or friends or people I know, whoever, who were like flying home from college and coming home for Thanksgiving or for winter break or whatever, or lots of different things, driving somewhere. So I think there was a lot of different decisions made for the holidays, and we'll continue to see that. But I do remember like my aunt or somebody saying like, yeah, I'm so surprised at how many planes are still running, and I feel like other countries who are dealing with this better are looking at us like, you're really gonna like sit on a crowded plane when your country's like spiking right now, or like what, like just I do feel like there is a difference kind of in how the US is handling COVID paired with the holidays, as compared to some other places.
Definitely. And I think that has a lot to do with it has a lot to do with a lot of things. And a lot of that is personal choice and personal identity of the American, which is like I do what I want for me. And yeah, it's very much individualism. And then I think another piece of it is a lot that our country just has never shut down, you know? And so I think that a lot of people are looking at it, well, like, if we haven't shut down to this point, why would I shut my life down at the holidays? Which is an interesting point of view. But I think it's something that you get when, again, we do have a country that won't shut down, won't pay people to stay home, won't do any of those things. And so I think we're experiencing like almost the population saying, well, if the government's not going to take it seriously, neither are we. And
Mm-hmm.
so that is just a perfect storm of COVID spikes.
Yeah,
And
because
yeah,
it's like if you are now required to go to work, there's no stimulus check, there's nothing. If you're like, I every day I go into work and I risk my health and the health of the people I live with, why am I not going to like, if I'm already doing that, then you're now also going to tell me like it's on me to not see my family when I'm required to do all of these things because the government won't like shut it down or whatever. So it's like, to a certain degree, there is this like, I agree that there's this like individualistic, like it's my liberty, like personal liberty to like not wear a mask or to go see my family or whatever. But there's also like this kind of like, it's not fair that I have to work, I have to risk my health in these other ways, but then the government is then going to say, oh, but don't go see your family, that's too risky. Do all these personal things yourself, but we're not going to do anything on a larger scale that's going to actually facilitate decreasing COVID.
I definitely agree. And I think I think that's a large part of it. You know, like imagine someone who drives Uber and has to let strangers in their car all day to make a living, telling that person that they should then not drive to someone's house for Thanksgiving because that's unhealthy. It becomes almost a thing where I definitely think, yeah, until our government is supportive of the people that it's supposed to be taken care of, and it helps people to stay home, it helps people to isolate themselves, I think that, yeah, it is going to be a thing where people do think, well, if I'm a waiter all day and I have to wait all these people and risk my life, why would I not do this thing for myself? Or if
Mm-hmm.
I'm going into GameStop to sell games to people all day, and that's what I have to do in the middle of a pandemic, why can't I do thing XYZ that I want to do? And
Mm-hmm.
so it is definitely a lot of parts to it, I think, and I think it's circular almost in how it goes. The people don't take it seriously, so the government doesn't have to take it seriously, and the government doesn't take it seriously, so the people don't have to take it seriously. And it's crazy. It's bad because, well, it's bad because it's bad, but it's especially bad because it's affecting people who really can't have no choice in the matter, or people who are already disproportionately being affected by it. And so when we see these spikes in COVID, it's gonna hit these essential workers. It's gonna hit these people from low income neighborhoods. It's gonna hit people who are unhoused and don't have anywhere to go. And when people are just rampant on the streets traveling. And
Yeah.
so it's going to affect a lot of different populations and a lot of different groups who just don't have even the choice to say, do I want to risk that for myself?
Yeah. Like when you think about holidays, and we've talked in like other lives or talks about holiday shopping and like stuff like that that's like really big right now. It's like when you think about, okay, these companies and whoever are going to facilitate this like mass shopping again, or like holiday shopping, who's working at all of these retail stores? Who are the people who are like who
Need a
are
deal so
able to,
bad they're willing to risk their lives for it.
yeah, and like it's it's different to be a person who has the luxury of working from home, who can say, "Oh, I'll go into one store and I'll buy my thing and I'll leave, and that's safe enough for me." But it then to be the person who works in that store who sees 50, 100 customers in a day, where it's like that is clearly so much less safe for them. It's like they're there all day, they're with their coworkers in an enclosed building or whatever. It's like as we're seeing all of these holiday things continue, clearly it's not going to be equally affecting everybody. And so, like, the burden of choice and stuff like that is not necessarily equally.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think of things like, even who are the people who want a deal so badly that they're willing to step into a target full of 1,000 people fighting over things. It's not going to be people who are high income enough to buy those things on whatever day. And so it becomes like this. There's so many layers to it that I think, yeah, if if people took it more seriously and we collectively took it more seriously, and two, if we had a government that was willing to say, hey, one, give out clear guidelines, tell everyone not to go out, but two, offer people the support that they need in order to stay home and enjoy holidays and be able to afford to still have nice things, because I do think people deserve a nice experience on Christmas. But yeah,
Yeah.
there's no way to do that for a lot of people without, I guess, going out and working in person every day.
Mm-hmm.
Or a lot of people won't be able to afford a certain thing if they don't go and run into this Black Friday sale that could have been held online. And so
Mm-hmm.
there's just so many different parts to it, I think. And then even when you think about online, somebody has to deliver that to you.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's so many conveniences to our lives that we just don't look at. And so when it comes to the holiday season, that's just all exacerbated. Like everything is on such high stress, high octane. And I think that's true for even when we're not in the middle of a pandemic. When we think about how many people a retail worker has to deal with on Black Friday, how stressful that probably is for them to have people standing outside, camping out, and rushing into the building that they work in. Or when we think about people who are unhoused, still probably getting a lot of diseases, dealing with filthy cities, and dealing with everything that comes with the Christmas rush any day. And so I think there are so many parts to it that definitely like are drawn out and exacerbated by COVID-19. But I think that, as with anything, and we talk about this a lot in our past talks and lives, it exposes a lot of flaws that were already there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. For sure. Yeah. And I think that we'll touch on some more. We'll talk about the holidays more and like some of the other ways that we see certain disparities coming up, or just certain issues that we feel like are really important. And we'll talk about those more in the future. But as we kind of like wrap up, what do you feel like you're gonna do, or what would you suggest to other people to do to enjoy their holiday season, still make it feel like it's the holiday season, but also stay safe and keep other people safe?
Yeah, I mean, I strongly advise people to do all those things that just make it the holidays for you as much as you can. And so if that's decorating your house and watching Christmas movies, or getting to make eggnog and Christmas foods and holiday traditions, anything that you can do by yourself, I encourage people to do that by themselves and not give up on the holiday, because that's depressing. And not just, you don't have to be necessarily isolated because you're in isolation. So call your loved ones, enjoy that with them, have a virtual Christmas party, all those types of things. But you don't have to jeopardize yourself in order
Yeah,
to enjoy your holidays.
I totally agree. I think that like something, as much as it's like disappointing to not be able to like physically like hug your family or like be right next to them, and there are certain things that like yes you just have to be there for, but also it's like we're living in a time where we have FaceTime. It's like I can see your face, I can hear your voice. It's like as close to the real thing as you can get, and it's something at this point it feels like you should be kind of used to talking to people in this way. And so yes, it's the holidays, but at the same time it's like you could do this while watching a movie, or for me, something at my school, like at a club that I'm with, we were doing like a little secret Santa, like by like snail mail. Like you send your little postcard from whatever city you're in, your little tiny gift. It's like something cute that's still distanced. Yeah, and I think that like also for me personally, I'm just gonna try to limit like the amount of in-person shopping that I'm trying to do, and